CanCon for you there.
Yeah, sure. So that's a little bit of you all in action. So I'd like to start just actually by getting a quick reaction to the ComScore talk that we heard. Does that sort of square with how you see the media landscape changing, both as consumers and as creators of content?
Definitely in terms of the importance of cross-platform. With Being Erica, it was a huge success to start to integrate the online component with the TV show, with the traditional billboards, and besides the webisodes, you had other all kinds of online features that they're coming up with. Being Like Erica they interviewed local celebrities, Canadian celebrities, and asked them if you could be like Erica. So it does have a life beyond the TV show, and in that way, I totally agreed.
I think as a consumer, when I look at some of the numbers he posted, it reflected as a young adult, when I was a teenager, when I was in high school, me and all of my friends, we've been watching videos online for years, and we were a very, very small portion of people, and the general population in school didn't know how to watch videos online because 5 or 6 years ago, the codec problems, the way internet video worked, you had to have Windows Media Player or Real Player or QuickTime, and it asked you, do you want the 100K stream or the 300K stream? And anytime you tried to watch even a 2-minute video, you were presented with a multitude of options, and it was very difficult to watch these videos, and you had to be a computer nerd just to figure out how to watch them. And that's been solved now with things like Flash Player and browsers across Mac and PC and cell phones and tablets. It's extremely easy, and the easier it gets, the more people are figuring out how to use it. And we're only talking about the past 2 or 3 years that it's been this easy. And only in that past 2 or 3 years, those numbers have just skyrocketed that fast because of the ease of which content is available.
Chantal, how about you?
I think I really identified with the statement that was made this morning about repatriating video in Canada and reclaiming some of our Canadian YouTube content and bringing it back to our nation. And that's kind of what Lifeforce TV does. And you saw like a clip of all the web shows we have. Those are all Canadian across the board, Canadian produced, Canadian acted. And we find like a wealth of them, and they're hiding, on places like YouTube, where you might look at a show and go, oh, I didn't know that was Canadian, because we're working in a borderless environment on the web. We're working in a world, in a global situation on the web. We're not talking about just Canada anymore. We're talking about going to the world. And so when you look at those figures, and you look at shows like Tiki Bar TV, which is a massive, massive success story, you just don't think, oh, that's Canadian. You think, no, that's a great show. I like watching it, which I think is starting to break down the borders of traditional, conventional broadcast, where they were like, oh, that's a Canadian show. We don't have that anymore. And I think that the more we break down that border, the easier it is for everybody in this room, it will get to make content.
Mm-hmm. Nadine, you have a borderless YouTube channel. How do you see it?
I agree with it. I wanted to comment on the social media. Mm-hmm. They're talking about Facebook and Twitter and how it's so prominent. And as a video creator, it's huge. It's such a huge distribution platform to get your to interact and to get your content out there. And I mean, I get most of my news on Twitter. I mean, I'll follow links onto these sites and stuff, but it's so prominent, and it's growing. It's huge. It's super helpful too.
It's convergent. It really is. It's very convergent. When you're, linking your Twitter to your Facebook and your fans, and I'm sure this is something that you two specifically get, you link all of those things together, and then the more places it is on the internet to find it, the more likely people are to watch your videos, right?
Yeah. So when you look at what is happening in kind of the mainstream Canadian film and television landscape, just to be blunt, what do you think that people are not getting? what's the missing piece of the puzzle to really get into the new digital space?
It's not content, because our content is great. It's not storytelling. Our storytelling is fantastic. I think it's really just breaking out of the box. Production companies, it was like we heard this morning, start your concept as a cross-platform project instead of making it a broadcast television show and then going, oh, we'll make the website later. You know, start thinking in terms of cross-platforming, and I think that's our biggest hump to take over.
When I think about the traditional media that is represented here today, I think about, coming from my personal perspective, 10 years ago watching YTV, right? We're not the age, we don't watch the news as much as the older generation because we're young and ignorant and we don't care, if we're being blunt here. But thinking about traditional media specifically, we're not loyal to any brands. And when you think about America and American television, you immediately, Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS. Those are your four. And we have our four, and you have, past that as well. But at the same time, you know that NBC has a comedy lineup that's going to knock your socks off. You know that Fox is going to bust down your doors with American Idol, and So You Think You Can Dance, and they all fall into a niche in that the networks actually become characters. And you associate thoughts with Fox and your opinion of Fox News. And you associate something with ABC and the types of dramas they play. To where those networks actually become caricatures because it's so exaggerated. Whereas in Canada, I think Much Music is very, very branded as you definitely know it's Much. Whereas the rest of it, it is all Canadian content and it's all, entertaining. But at the same time, it doesn't seem to have that American flair that the entire planet is so jealous of, and that everybody is trying to aspire towards because the amount of money that they sink into it. And we're not playing on the same level that they're playing on. But being absolutely blunt, it doesn't feel as strong as watching some of that American content, and it should, and it's not, in my opinion.